Welcome to today's video. I'm the Hooded Lid, and today I'm bringing to you a new foundation, the Chanel Le Beige. I already did an intro and we're going to cut into that. I'm just coming to say hi. This video did not turn out like I thought it would. I thought I'd just put it on and come back a few hours later and say it's great, I love it, and we'd be on with it. But I had some problems. So this has ended up being a 5-day wear test. I've done my best to kind of edit it. I'm going to mostly narrate and then show you some shots of what I'm seeing to the best of my ability. And let's get into it. Welcome to today's video. I'm the Hooded Lid and I have a new foundation, another one. This is Chanel Le Beiges. Now I see a lot of people call it Le Beige, but there is an S on the end of it. And this is replacing the original one that came out about 4 years ago. The top is beige, and I think the original one, the top was black. I have to admit, I'm not incredibly familiar with Chanel foundations. I have the Aqua, which I bought because Lisa Eldridge used it all the time, and I used it for a long time. It was one of the few foundations I've ever repurchased. But the truth is, I remember once going to the dentist, I had worn it and I cried, because I'm the person who cries at the dentist, and the makeup all came off my face. I looked just horrifying. And to cheer myself up, and I had to pick up some painkiller, I went to a mall that had a pharmacy in it and went into Sephora, and I looked in the mirror and thought, oh wow, this foundation doesn't really do anything for me. It's just color on the face, but it doesn't give a radiance, a glow from within. It's just blah. And I bought a new foundation. I bought the It Cosmetics CC cream, and I wore that pretty solid for a year. And I never really looked back. And that's it. That's kind of my experience with the foundations. This apparently is replacing the other one, and it's different in that it says the word glow on it, and it says the word longwear on it. So the first one had more of a matte finish. This has a glow finish. The first one had SPF. This does not have SPF. The first one had less printing on the bottle, and I think the cap was different, but that doesn't matter. What else did the first one have? The first one had medium coverage, and this has light to medium coverage. And that's, I think, it basically. I put this on my hand yesterday, and it immediately reminded me of my beloved Cogendo, which I don't really wear that much anymore. This is the original. I can't say to the new formulation. When I found this, I was so pleased to find something I thought was a match for me that I bought 5 bottles of them. That's not cheap. And I've only finished 1 bottle, because eventually I did find other things that suited me a little bit better. And I think what I don't like about this is there is very little coverage, and it's a teeny bit too light for me. This is apparently 40% water, and this foundation is called Aqua. A lot of water in this too. So water's the first ingredient, not uncommon, and then we have glycerin, like in the first 3 or 4, and then a ton of dimethicones. Dimethicone this, dimethicone that, dimethicone the other thing. That's all I know, kids. Let's get into it. I am wearing B20. My dog just walks into the room and I get a dog hair on my face. How's that work? A little pumping. I'm going to start with 2. We're going to see how this builds. It's fragrant. It smells like roses. And it's too light. The thing is, the Aqua foundation I have in 30, and I felt it was too dark. So I went and I got the 20. And I figure I can always darken this up by putting the bronzy in it from Drunk Elephant. But of course I could always get the darker one and put the Chanel Le Blanc in it. But this is fairly neutral, which is a nice change, because I just reviewed Rare Beauty, and while I thought my skin looked so beautiful, the undertones in that line are messed up. I got a pink undertone because the neutral undertone was positively yellow, and the cool undertone, which should be pink or rosy, was peach. And even though I feel like this is a hair too light, it just kind of disappeared into the skin. And it doesn't look terribly, terribly light. I think I could probably get away with this in the winter. There's also not a huge amount of coverage, but I'm going to try to build it to see what we can get out of it. I think it's pretty, absolutely. There's definitely a shine. I do have my moisturizers on and my sunscreen on, the normal thing, so this is what I would normally get. But let's put on some more. And I don't know if you can see, this is where it dried. So this is a fresh 2 pumps, and this is how it's dried down a little bit. So that's probably why the color kind of changed a little bit as it dries. It's not quite as light. Okay, besides the fact that there is a hair somewhere on my face, it's very, very glowy, you guys. The glow is staying. So I guess we'll just do some cream stuff while we're waiting for it to set up, because that makes a lot of sense. Let's go with the Seychelles. I'm definitely going to need some bronzer today. And I try to go in really gently. I didn't receive this contour in the last couple of weeks, and I'm just kind of playing around with it a little bit. So let's go for kind of a natural look today. I'm not going to contour my forehead because I don't understand that. We probably should do a powder now. Let's see how it goes on without first powdering. I'm kind of afraid, you guys, because this does have more of a wet feeling to it. But for the sake of science, she's so LA. Oh, wow, okay, there's no skipping. It really looks nice. Good for you, Chanel Le Beige. So this is the By Terry. And I do feel like the skin is just a little bit too shiny. And this, I have mentioned before, it's not really mattifying. When you first put it on, it mattes everything out. And then a few minutes later, the shine comes back, just not quite as much. The skin looked really nice, you guys, I have to say. I am just going to powder 1/2 of my face. So I did the whole forehead, but I'm going to do 1/2 so you can get a better idea of what's going on. And I'm going to hold right here and pull in right around here, but on this side. I'm like, wow, that's so, so pretty. A little too radiant for me, and by radiant I mean glowy. So I just wanted to powder it down a teeny bit. So here's some powder, and here's a not powder. The skin looks really, really nice. All right, I think I'm done. I just did a little more blending with my powder because I felt this side of the face might have been a little uneven, but it's really about the foundation, and I feel like I'm matching now. The lightness has abated. I think it's because partially it has dried down, and it has a beautiful look. A little too shiny for me, definitely needs to get a little bit of powder. And I like a glowy foundation, so this is really saying something. But I feel like the skin looks really pretty, and I have some errands to run. I have to leave here. I have a couple of hours before I have to leave. And I will be back probably in 4 hours, and we'll check in because the light should be good and see how this is holding up. Now, as it turned out, I ended up having to go to the DMV on top of my other errand, totally unplanned and unscheduled. So I was outside for several hours. It was quite warm, but not too warm. I didn't end up sweating. I was wearing a mask. And by the time I got home, the light it really wasn't good for shooting, and I was pooped. I did, however, look at my 13X, and I was really surprised that I had polka dot pores. Now, polka dot pores is something I usually don't get, and usually when you have polka dot pores, you're not getting a lot of coverage on your cheeks. So if I'm looking at 13X, you're probably not going to see it, but you'll notice there's a sheerness or lack of color on the cheeks because it's not covering your skin, it's sunken to the pores. And I also noticed peeling along my chin. That was weird. Now, to be honest with you guys, after all these videos, I don't remember what day I saw the peeling, if it was this day or the next day. I'm going to say I thought it was this day, because the night before I had to use my MYCHELLE, and they have gloves you can use that have silver threaded to them, through them, and they can be a little rough, so you use your hands instead of probes when you're using this. And I thought maybe the peeling I was seeing right here was about that. But I definitely knew I needed to give it another day. The next day I had a very early appointment bringing the pup to the vet, and I decided, you know, we have to sit in our cars. We're not allowed to go in. I thought I wasn't going to put anything on. I thought, you know what, let me just try one layer, because the first day I did 2 layers in powder, and maybe 2 layers is too much. So I put on 1 layer and came home a few hours later, checked the mirror, and I thought from a distance of a couple of feet it looked good, but close up, meh. From this distance, I'm like, wow, it's pretty. Really close up, it's not so pretty. And oddly, and this could just be me, this could be about not drinking enough water, it could be about the weather, but I'm feeling tightening on my cheeks, which is unusual. And I'm not sure what's that about, if it's about the foundation or not. This area here where I have some sun damage didn't look covered at all. It was almost as if these light reflecting pigments were making everything look pretty, but I wasn't getting any coverage. And I decided I was just going to spray my face and put on another layer. I'm taking this from Nyad. This is an antioxidant, and you should not, it's really not made for just using as a mister. It's something you would put on as you would a serum, and then put a moisturizer over it. But I'm just going to use it to kind of get the face a little moist and juicy before I put on another coat. I'm not going to powder it today because I powdered it yesterday and I did get the polka dots, and I'm wondering if I got the polka dots because of the powder, so we're not going to do that. And 2 pumps, just like I did yesterday, and start that with the fingers and then I'll finish it with the blender. It's a little iffy in the crevice of the nose, which doesn't happen to me very often. And here where there is some peeling, I want to definitely hit it with the beauty blender. My skin looks so freaking dry. I just don't know if it's me, the weather, the retinol. But boy, with that 8X and the 200 glasses, not pretty. But with my poor eyesight, just, you know, 2 feet away this mirror is for me, it does look pretty. Alright you guys, I will be back probably in an hour and a half. After that, the light is really no good for this, and we'll see what's going on. The foundation, the Chanel. I don't think it would be fair for me to say it looks horrible where my skin is peeling, because, hi, what wouldn't look horrible where your skin is peeling? So I just want to look at the polka dot cheeks I got yesterday and suddenly right through here, and I'm not getting any polka dot cheeks, which is really interesting, and I'm also not getting any settling right here. What I want to do is one more test tomorrow, and I will powder half the face and leave half the face unpowdered, because I think it has something to do with the powder. So yes, I'm looking in this area, and this is where there's the peeling is kind of going up here. There's no peeling up here on this side, and there's no polka dot cheeks on this side, and there's no hanging out in this area on this side or on this side. But you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. The forehead, where I have the very least, what should we call it, textural interest, it looks really nice, and I do have lines, horizontal lines on my forehead, and it's not sinking into there. I like this finish, I do. Okay, let's get into the next test. Alright you guys, this is day 3. Last night I used the Drunk Elephant Baby Facial, Sukari Baby Facial. And hopefully everything has kind of been peeled off. I can't, like I said before, I don't see this when I look at an 18X. I only see it when I put makeup on it, and then I see it really well. So we're going to go in again, and I think I'm just going to do one layer because it's really about powder. Is this a situation where it doesn't work well with powder? Or is it a situation where it doesn't work well with building it? I'm going to powder this side of the face. So there's the cheeks. So I did have the face, but I kind of stopped powdering from here, so I have a little bit of glow on my face. And I'm going to pull you in, and we can get a good look at what is going on, and then we'll come back in a couple of hours. But this is powdered, and we're looking at both the peeling issue, but really the polka dot cheek issue. And this side is unpowdered, and has a lot more freshness to it. Alright you guys, I am back. This has been on for about an hour and a half. And, oh, I have a little rub off, right? When I look in the mirror, again, the mirror that I have here, just like an arm's length away, a little bit more than that, the skin looks nice. It looks nice on both sides. Of course, it's a little more shiny on this side, but it's not dead on this side. When I look in the 8X mirror, it doesn't look bad either. And I prefer, like, where I powdered up here, it looks a little bit drier, but when I look in a 13X, this side has polka dots, this side does not. But the first time, remember, that I got the polka dots was the first time I wore it, where I wore 2 layers and I powdered all over. I ended up having to go to the DMV. That's when the problems first revealed themselves to me. By now, I'm pretty frustrated with this foundation. I've given it a couple of goes, and there doesn't seem to be any consistency. So again, I wanted to come back and give it another chance. So I thought I would do a little bit of the Tatcha. I have a little mini of the Tatcha. I'm not a primer person, so this is like the only primer I have. And you're supposed to just take a very small bit of this, and I'm going to do just one side of my face, and we'll do a side to side. And I'm going to do the cheek area. Boy, my skin is so dehydrated. And I'm going to do right here where things are gathering a little bit. And, you know, there's not much, if anything, that I can do about the peeling of the face. So those are the 2 things I'm looking for. Settling right here, and the polka dots. I applied the foundation, but I didn't see much of a difference. I went under the eyes and then came back to the foundation, and this is what I saw. Now that the Tatcha is kind of warmed up to my skin, I really feel that this side looks better straight out of the gate. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. I've never tried so hard to make something work, I can say that. I feel that it looks better to me, not the way it lays on the skin necessarily, but it looks better as a foundation when it's not powdered. I don't feel that it responds really well to powder. It changes the nature of it, which is unusual because other foundations I have that I powder, it just knocks down the shine a little bit. It doesn't change the nature of it. Just feel that I've worked too hard to try to make it work, and I still, even today, I feel like I don't love it. Now, I don't know why I kept on coming back to this. I just didn't want to give up on it because I felt like there was potential. First of all, it made the skin look really pretty from a distance. I think there's these powder pearls or something in there that really kind of softened the skin. I just wasn't getting any coverage, and when I did 2 coats it was too much, and when I did 2 coats in powder it was too much, and 1 coat wasn't enough. 2 coats without powder, not so bad. It seemed like there was a recipe in here to be found, and I was determined to find it. I decided to use the MYCHELLE sunscreen for 2 reasons. One, it's not quite matte, but it's pretty close to matte. So my other sunscreens leave a shiny finish. This one not as shiny. And 2, this had some coverage. So I was thinking put on 1 coat, get the coverage from the MYCHELLE and get the coverage from the Chanel, and it would be fine. But The MYCHELLE has a grayish tinge to it, and because there's not a lot of coverage to the Chanel, initially upon application, my face looked a little bit gray. That did go away as my skin warmed up everything, but initially I could see that grayness underneath the Chanel. Now, I need to talk about how my skin is feeling. I've been using this for 4 days. Today's my 5th day, and my skin feels really kind of ravaged. It feels very dry and tight and kind of hurts. And every night I've been just kind of putting on a lot of moisturizers, and even today I put on more moisturizer than I normally do because my skin kind of hurts. It is very possible that it's this that is drying out my skin. I took a look at the ingredients. I didn't look up each one, but I didn't see anything in here that sent off signals going, uh-oh, there's no alcohol in here, SD or even fatty alcohols. There is glycerin, about the 4th, and there's a lot of dimethicones, but something's going on, and I think I needed to mention it to you. Here we go, 2 pumps with the fingers again. And this is it. I am not going to pull you in because while I'm editing that, it really looks weird. So I'm going to pull you in post-production. So here we have straight ahead, to the side. And you might remember when I did 1 layer before that all of this showed so much it didn't even look like I was wearing foundation. It was odd. It was from a distance, from a shot like this. I looked like I was wearing makeup, but close up it looked like none. Where this one, well, we'll see when I put this into my computer, really. So I will be back in about 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, and we'll see if I've been able to avoid polka dot cheeks and gathering right into this area, and if any of my peeling starts showing. My peeling should be pretty darn close to being done. I didn't do my regular program last night. I didn't do retinol. I didn't do my MyoLift. I didn't even do my red light. I could feel my skin was hurting. And I felt like every night when I was taking off my foundation that my skin was red underneath, which is unusual. And I do remember having this same kind of experience with the Elta sunscreen, where when I took it off, my face was quite red and it felt very tender. I'm feeling the same way with this foundation after 5 days. But when I think about it now, it's not even after 5 days. I think it was the 2nd day that I took Lucy to the vet, and I remember my cheeks felt really tight when I was coming home. It was such an unusual feeling, and usually when something feels tight, it means it's drying. I ended up not coming back because I was editing something and I just was so focused I lost track of time. And by the time I realized it, it was way past decent light in this room. So we're back. Here's the thing. It was okay. It wasn't fantastic. This had so much potential for me, but it kept on missing the mark. And one of the things I don't like about it, it's not reliable for me. When I put on this, I know what I'm going to get. With the Chanel, I really didn't know what I was going to get. For me, I can powder this, I could not powder it. I could put 2 layers on, I could put 1 layer on. It doesn't matter. It's very, very consistent. The Chanel wasn't doing that for me. When you powder it, something gets killed. You know, it's lost in translation. Whatever was pretty about it is lost when you powder it. And another thing I really like about this, which is probably the main reason I kept on going back, was I love the tone. So this was a little too light for me, but it was absolutely neutral, okay? Which is really hard to find. Take a look at the Rare Beauty. The neutral in that is yellow, and the cool in that is peach. The Chanel is actually neutral when you buy just the B. So I got B20, too light. B30 is too dark. But because it's neutral, I knew I could darken it up. When you have a neutral undertone, you have a lot more room for how your skin might change as the year goes on, unless your undertone kind of changes. So that kept me coming back. But at a certain point, I really had to face the fact that the peeling that I got might not have been from my gloves because I didn't get it anywhere else. And as it progressed for every day, my skin was feeling more and more tender. The second day I had that pulling feeling on my cheeks. When I washed my face at the end of the day, there was a redness underneath. Something was irritating me, and I kept on thinking, maybe it was my retinol, maybe it was my gloves, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, and it was finally time for me to admit, maybe it's this foundation. There's something in this foundation that doesn't agree with my skin. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling it has to do with the word long wear. I didn't find actually the wear to be particularly long. In fact, I did another video, and I think I kept this in, where my nose was just running a little bit, and I touched my nose, and it took off the foundation. I'm like, what the hey? That's not what long wear does. I'm not wearing it today, right? Touch my nose is dripping a little bit. Foundation's still there. So I personally don't have a problem with foundations disappearing on me. They pretty much stay on. So long wear is not something I need. But when you put something on and you touch your face and the color goes away, I'm thinking as a long wear foundation, it's probably not that long wear. That's my guess. As I said, I don't have that issue. Foundation stays on me pretty well. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I still long for this foundation. I actually haven't sent it back yet because I have to go to Federal Express to do it, but it's been in the box to go back for more than a week. If you, one, don't have things you need to cover, maybe. If you don't have an issue with whatever's in there that is long wear that is really irritating my skin, maybe. If you really like a very, very, very glowy look, maybe. I like a glowy look, but this one was too much. Then maybe it'll work for you. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me. I really, really wanted it to. And finally, I have to say, the next day, I put on a different foundation. I'm like, oh, it's so nice that my skin doesn't hurt. And then the next day after that, I went to this. I'm like, oh, it's so nice. And ever since then, I put on whatever foundation I'm putting on. I'm like, no, it was about something in this that I was very sensitive to. And that's going to wrap it up for me, you guys. I'm so sorry this did not work out for me. It really has potential. It's not going to happen. And that's it. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health.